Shalom guys, welcome back to another episode of Shavio Ministry with Casa de Israel Yarah. Thank you again for being here. So, this week we have two Torah portions, Tazria and Metzora. Now, we are not going to be able to read all of it because it's a lot of information and we have a little bit of time. But before we talk about the Torah portion, we will do the Torah blessing. It says, Barhu et Adonai HaMevorah, Barhu Adonai HaMevorah le'olam va'ed, Barhu Adonai HaMevorah le'olam va'ed. Barhu ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bacharanu mikol ha'amim ve'natan lanu et torato. Barhu ata Adonai noten ha'torah. Bless Adonai who is blessed. Bless Adonai who is blessed now and forever. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign of the universe, who has chosen us from among the nations and has given us the Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, giver of the Torah. So, this week's Torah portion, like I said, is Tazria or Metzora, right? Tazria is when she conceives or as she gives birth. Metzora is more of scale disease, translated into leprosy. And so, we're going to focus more on the ancient Near Eastern and the context of these and what this represent in the times of Israel. We're going to see certain events and the importance of what has transpired in this Torah portion. It starts off like this: Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Israel lemor, isha chi Tazria. In English, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, speak to the people of Israel saying, if a woman conceives and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. As the time of her menstruation, she shall be unclean. And on the 8th day, the flesh of the foreskin shall be circumcised. Then she shall continue for 33 days in the blood of her purifying. She shall not touch anything holy, nor come into sanctuary, until the days of her purifying are completed. But if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her menstruation, and she shall continue the blood of her purifying for 66 days. This is a procedure, understanding that, remember, like I said last week, blood meant life. And so it is understood that this type of blood coming from childbirth and of a menstruation cycle represented as death, because it's blood that is being lost as a child is giving birth. So it had a different connotation. Now, did this make the woman evil, or this make the woman sin towards God? No, it was just a impure state in which she couldn't approach God, because God is holy and his sanctuary is holy. And so he established a rule that this type of state for the woman was unclean, and so she had to go through a process of purification. And if it was a boy, on the 8th day she was to be circumcise her child, and so she will continue her procedure of purification. Okay, now for Metzora, which starts in chapter 14. Follow. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, sot tiem torat ham Metzora be'o taharato wahuba el hakohen. Now, in English, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, this shall be the law of the leprous person for the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall look. Then if the case of leprosy disease is healed in the leprous person, the priest shall command them to take for him who is to be cleansed two live clean birds, and cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop. And the priest shall command them to kill one of the birds in the earthenware vessel over the fresh water. He shall take the live bird with the cedar wood, and the scarlet yarn, and hyssop, and the fresh water. Two different stage of impurities, right? One is from childbirth, and menstrual cycle. It also talks about male discharge and general discharge, and it talks about the scale disease of leprosy in the skin, right? It had many stages. It had a whole process in which person will go through in this disease. Also, houses could have a certain mold similar to what the leprosy was. And so the focus that we're going to take is that in ancient times, for nations around Israel, a woman with her menstrual cycle was kept outside of the camp. She was kept out far away, and it was taken out of the camp completely. She would be labeled as impure. You couldn't completely touch her. She couldn't approach her family, nobody. In Israel, she had to go a process of purification. She couldn't come to a sanctuary. She couldn't touch holy things, but she still couldn't live her normal life without having to be completely separated, because she wasn't in sin or she had no evil. Also, they had some type of representation of demonic, right? The blood or something represented demonic beings or demonic possession that the woman will go through. So those type of mindsets were involved in these things. So Elohim is saying, okay, listen, it's not a demon that's taking over the body of the woman. It's just a process of natural birth or a menstrual cycle, and she will be fine after she goes through the process of purification. That is the aspect for the woman that is talking about in this Torah report. For the leprosy, right? The leprosy was represented as something that you will get, especially when there was the Shon Hara, evil tongue, and so that would mark you, and it would show a certain level of sin, or the bigger it got, the more obvious it was that you were speaking of somebody in the wrong way. In times, a leper was somebody that wasn't able to be healed, that was completely taken out of the camp. Now, in Israel, the leper was taken out of the camp, but he was examined by the Kohen. The Kohen will go out to the place where the lepers were, and he will check and inspect, and if that leper was cleansed or was ready for his procedure of coming back into the community, he will go through a process in which the same priesthood will do the same thing to be inaugurated as the priest, right? So the priest will have to be consecrated for 7 days, right? Go into a process of purification, and on the 8th day they were inaugurated as priests. And there was a process of sacrificial where the blood was put on the earlobes and on the foot. The same process was for the leper when he was reinstated into the camp, which is interesting. Now, the cool thing about this Torah portion is that it comes to life in the New Testament. And how do I know that? Because when we go to Yeshua is presented, Jesus is presented in the temple, right? So why is it important to learn these rituals? Why is it important to understand the Torah, right? The 5 books of Moses? Because the foundation, guys, the foundation of the New Testament, the culture of the people of the Bible was the Torah. And how do I know this? Because the rituals that were done in the tabernacle were done in the first temple with Solomon, in the second temple. And so all these rituals that were done were a part of the history, and it was the soul of the people of Israel. It was their way of connecting with Elohim. So when we go to Luke chapter 2, verse 22, we see the following. And when the time came for their purification, according to the law of Moses, they brought him up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. As it is written in the law of the Lord, every male whose first opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord, and to offer a sacrifice according to what is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. Now there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon, and this man was righteous, devout, waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him, and it had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he will not see death before he had seen the Lord Messiah. And he came in the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought the child Yeshua, Jesus, to do for him according to the custom of the law of God, he took him up in his arms and blessed Elohim and said, Lord, now that you are letting your servant depart in peace according to your word, For my eyes have seen your salvation, Yeshua, that you have prepared in the presence of all these people a light for revelation to the Gentiles and for glory of your people of Israel. All right, so here we see a direct and beautiful representation of what the culture of the people is in Israel and in the New Testament. These people were Jewish Israelites that believed in the temple. Right, the temple was the heart of the community. The structure and the sacrificial system was part of it. And so, why is it important to understand Leviticus? Because when we understand Leviticus, we understand what sacrifices and what offerings was Mary, the mother of Yeshua, Jesus, was bringing, and when she offered him and when she circumcised him, like the Torah and Moses established. Well, not even Moses, God established this. Also, Yeshua himself, when he healed the leper, and it was amazing because a leper hadn't been healed in years and in centuries. And I don't know where Yeshua heals lepers, and there's Samaritan. He sends them to the temple and he says, go. And we might think, oh, well, he's Jesus, right? He's the Son of God and he has healed and he has authority. But he still said, go fulfill the law of Moses. Go fulfill what the law of Moses establishes. And where is that established? Leviticus 13 and 14. So I will exalt my young ones to please read, guys, study. And the temple was on top of a mountain. It will never be at the city of David or anywhere else. I just had to say that. Sorry, just point of controversy. But guys, this small clip, Torah portion, Tazria, Torah portion, Metzora. Please read. We couldn't read everything, but I thank you for the little bit of time you give me. I appreciate it. And with that being said, bro, Billy, are you gonna go? Sorry, guys. So, with that being said, thank you for taking a little bit of time to listen to this little rant of mine. I appreciate you. If you like that content, you have in our channel. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section below. And if you want to listen to people that really know what they're talking about and not me, go to the link below. I'll put them down in the screen. I'll direct you to the locations that will give you the right information, right? So, thank you for watching. Have a great week. Shavua Tov, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.